Instagram. So my friend Aisha Sudozie had seen something on Chinny's page that me and her had discussed previously. And so she tagged me on the post and said, oh, look at what we were discussing. So that was the first time I ever heard of Chinny. And then 2 days later, as if by design, somebody was like, oh, you should really talk to this lady, Chinny, she's telling all these amazing things about her. I was like, this girl, this somebody just told me about her yesterday. So I sent her a DM and I was just like, I hear amazing things. Seems you have mutual friends, I thought it would be great to connect. So it's this idea of, because I know that, everybody talks about shooting your shots, but mostly in terms of female and male relationships. But I think it's very important to be aware of when people are doing things that you admire or that is related to what you are doing, trying to open up the lines of communication, not because you want anything from them, but just because you want to connect. And I think that hopefully in this group, as we start to network more, we will learn how to and we're going to try and make it very easy for us to do so using the lifestyle groups for movies and things like that. But just have an open mind about building relationships. So I didn't start thinking, oh, because she's popular, because she's this, she will snub me or whatever. I just had an open mind, like, oh, two people in the space of 2 days, what are the chances have told me about you? I think we should connect. And she replied, we had lunch. This is her second time attending a 9 to 5 chick event. And, it's just been it's not like we talk to each other every day and I'm like, babe, what did you have for lunch or whatever? Like, the other time I think I was away from work for a bit. So I hadn't been posting on social media and she sent me a message. She's like, hi, Glory. I haven't seen you on social media in a while. I hope you're okay. So the idea of just having people in your inner, you don't have to talk to them every day, but just having people in your inner circle that care about you, that you care about, and that can also help you and that you can help. So that's what I want to say about when I met Chinny and the importance of networking. So I'm going to read her bio. Her bio is like 10 pages long, guys. so I'm going to abridge it. And I'm reading from my notes. So you see me turn to the side because my computer is here and I'm projecting with my phone here. Okay, so Dr. Chinny is the Chief Executive Officer of Wellspring Health, a Nigerian-based integrated care consortium committed to delivering quality, affordable healthcare at scale. She's also the co-founder of African Health Holdings, a healthcare investment and operations company born out of her doctoral research and her first company, CarePoint Hospitals and Clinic. She was selected as a Young Global Leader and Dangote Fellow by the World Economic Forum in 2020. She also serves as the Director of Healthcare at the Center for the Studies of the Economies of Africa, where her research has explored innovative business models for healthcare delivery in growth economies, particularly sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia. Her work in healthcare operations has delivered high-quality, low-cost healthcare to over 40,000 patients across West Africa and India. Her research has received over 700,000 in direct support from organizations such as Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the World Bank. Chinny is an advisory board member at Growth Capital, the private equity fund arm of CC Hub, a steering committee member of the African Leadership Academy Health Network, serves on leadership committees of MIT Solve, and is currently a guest lecturer at top international business schools. She has previously worked at Morgan Stanley, Veralon Partners, and provided long-term consultancy for the Nigerian Federal Ministry of Health, as well as multiple other developments and partner organizations. Chinny holds a PhD in health management, technology and operations management strategy from the Harvard Business School, an MA in health administration from Cornell University, and a bachelor's degree from Stanford University. This is what I call a give them bio. Chinny, you are so welcome. So welcome. We're so excited to have you here sharing with us about how to make your next career move. Thank you so much. Welcome to stage. Guys, unmute yourself so we can give Chinny a round of applause. Let's give her a 9 to 5 chick clap. Fantastic, fantastic.
Thank you all so much. It's really a pleasure for me to be here. It's my honor. Thank you, Glory, for the wonderful introduction. And she's 100% right. She shot her shots in my DM, and I was just like, hey, this is, well, first, you know, a lot of people, nobody wants to spend their time or waste their time. You don't want to spend your time flippantly. So it was really the fact that she already knew a good friend of mine and that friend, they had discussions and things like that that led to me just being like, okay, let's at least, you know, sit down and get together and have a discussion. So those relationships, that networking that Glory's always talking about, is so critical. Yeah, that's just what I wanted to start with. But just to get everybody relaxed, please forget my bio, forget anything that's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I am a very, very laid back person. I'm very relatively low key. I'm quite relaxed, to be honest. So I just want to hear from all of you, please, at any point in time, if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you just want to be like, where'd you get that hair from? Like, let's relax. Let's have a nice conversation. I think that's the best way to get to know each other. And I can see most of you. I can see you, Victory. I can see you, Abera. I can see you, Deborah. I can see you, Izehi. Oh, I'm so sorry. I hope I'm not butchering your name. Izehianes.
You got it.
Yeah. Hey, you see, thank you. I know that Stella and Ifoma are still here. Toyosi, you're here. Joke, hey, how are you? Raliat, you're here. Victoria, you're here. Mfon. Everybody who is on, thank you so much. But please don't just be quiet and sit back. This isn't the time for sitting back. This should be much more interactive. This should be much more, I want it to be useful for you, you know. There's no point of me sitting here and talking if nothing I say is actually useful. So maybe with that in mind, I have my own things that I can talk about. I was just going to talk about my career trajectory and, you know, going from when I was younger to school to maybe the early internships I did to where I am right now. However, if that's not what would be most useful for you guys, I want to hear you tell me what do you want to hear? What sort of questions do you have so that I can know what to touch upon? I have my pen and paper. This is open to everybody. Please unmute yourselves and feel free to just throw anything out. What would you like to hear? What do you think is important for me to touch on so that you can actually learn something? This is a learning exercise as well. The way I do, I'll start calling on people if I don't hear anything.
Chinny, where'd you get your hair?
Well,
yes.
This is all about my hair, kinky curly. Oh, no, actually, no, it's not. Sorry, I lied. If you go to a website called Extensions Plus and you Google the kinky curly texture, then you will find this baby.
She's very nice. She's very nice. So what I would like to know in terms of career is, what are your tactics for visibility? So we've seen quite a lot of things that you are doing, and I know that your bio is, you know, it's not everything that you are doing, right? So what are some of the ways that you have used to get visibility for your career and establish yourself as a thought leader? And I know you have a lot of strategic relationships, so a lot of people see you on IG and it's like, you know, you play, you slay and everything, but I know that there's another side of Chinny. So like, how do you marry the two? So that's my question. But I can see some people are putting their hands up.
Yeah.
So let me go to the chat so I can read the questions as well. So I saw, was it Ifoma? Ifoma, I thought you had your hand up. Okay. So Chinny, that's my question. Let me see. Hi Chinny, your IG page is where I go when I'm down and lazy. I snap back immediately.
Toyosi, do you have something to say? So
yes, I wanted to.
Okay.
Hi Chinny. Hi. Yeah. Thank you. I'm Toyosi, and I was just telling my husband there was somewhere beside me. I was like, wow, PhD in Harvard, like, like that's quite impressive. What I would like to know about you is generally, and I think a lot of people are very concerned about making relationships that seem like they can gain from. So no, I don't believe that's all you've done. Are there relationships you've made whereby you were not even expecting full networking and relationships as well? How do you then balance to say you have limited bandwidth, balance to say, okay, who do I give attention? Who don't I give attention? Of course, if it's some big names, you automatically have the tendency to give attention. At the same time, how do you balance that to ensure that you don't seem to be discriminating some kind of people because they don't seem like they have anything now?
Okay. Yes, I'll touch on that.
I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. It's basically how do you prioritize to make sure you're not just looking at people who you think are big people, that you're also appropriately networking with those who may not seem as though they have something to offer immediately, but at least you're building those relationships. Okay, great. Thank you so much for that question. Anybody else? Anything else? Anything else that is burning in your mind that you'd like me to touch upon? Okay, no problem. I think I have enough for these.
Sorry, one more for me, Chinny. I wanted to talk about clarity around your career. Like, how have you known where to go and how to navigate your career? What decisions were right for you, and those kind of things, and maybe even mistakes that you've made in your career and what you did to right those mistakes.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Victory, did you have a question? I think I saw you raise your hand as well.
Oh yes, I want to know how best to network in the organization without coming up as someone who is just trying to be noticed. Like, how do you get the attention of people who really are going to help advance your career? Yeah, basically that. How do you get a career mentor?
Okay, gotcha. Great. All right, these are all really, really good questions, and let me try and take them through the process of stories, right? So I just tell you some of my experiences and answer the questions through those. So I'm going to actually start with clarity around career first, and then bounce around to some of the questions. I have always known that I wanted to be in healthcare. I think, typical of some Nigerian families, right? So my mom is a doctor, my sisters are doctors, everybody is a doctor. I have aunts who are doctors, and it was like, okay, go ahead and do the whole doctor thing, but that just wasn't very, the medical or clinical side wasn't very interesting to me. And I wanted to explore different things, and I've always had a number of different passions. So I would say my clarity around my career isn't necessarily married to an organization or married to a particular way of doing things, if that makes sense. I don't tell myself, oh, I'm working in Shell. I'm just going to say Shell, for example. I'm working in Shell for today. I love Shell. I'm going to do everything that Shell wants to do. Or even I'm working at this particular hospital, this particular organization. I'm going to try to aggressively climb up. For some people, that works very well. But for me, that's just not how I'm built. I don't derive value from that. And also, very early on, I made it clear to myself through introspection and asking a number of questions to myself what my priorities are. I was very clear that I'm willing to forego some financial gains. Like, I'm willing to let go of some of the money aspect in order to do good, like to do good for society. So for example, when I finished my PhD, I had a number of very lucrative offers from investment banks in the US. And these are people who will pay you like $300,000, $400,000 a year. And I was just like, oh, okay, because I've been a student my whole life. I went from undergrad to the master's to the PhD. And when people are offering you that type of money, you could very easily be like, hey, money, and go ahead and do it. But it wasn't, I had already done the internal work of understanding that that's not my mission in life. I really saw the gap in terms of in the world, in terms of in Africa and for healthcare. I've seen enough people who died for lack of healthcare. I've seen enough people who, weren't able to see their loved ones for lack of healthcare. And I decided then and there that it was one of me in Nigeria or on the African continent would make a much bigger difference than one of me back in the US doing what everybody in the US is doing. So that decision it made it much easier when I get lucrative offers or things that will just throw money at you. So to be like, you know what, that's not necessarily right for me. But also committing myself to the cause, right? It makes it much easier to decide what is right and what is wrong and which opportunities I want to pursue. In this 2020, I have had, when I say dozens of different opportunities just fall onto my lap. And I'm at the point where it's much more difficult to decide, okay, what should I do and what should I not do? It's the process of deciding what to say no to, as opposed to like looking for what to say yes to. So I hope that gives you a bit of an idea around like how I make my decisions around my career. I'm driven more so by the mission. I want to improve healthcare in Africa and across developing countries. But I also change, my mission time after, like in when it's relevant. I don't stick to it 100% all the time because sometimes it doesn't make sense. Again, as I've been talking about 2020, it's also come to light that honestly, this whole Nigeria thing, I love Nigeria. I'm here. I've been doing a ton of work in Nigeria since 2010. But the government isn't trying. I did ministry work for a while. The government isn't trying. The government continues not to try. A number of like hundreds of millions of dollars have been poured into Nigeria for COVID relief. And if you see where this money is getting chopped, like the way people are just taking it left and right, I've also made the internal decision, like I can't save a country that doesn't want to save itself. So I changed my mission. Maybe Nigeria is not the best place for me to be in order to save Nigeria. Like, I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm just trying to be clear that it's the mission that I'm driven to, and there are multiple ways that you can solve that mission. So I really urge people to do the introspective work of understanding what is it that you both really want to do, what will make you money, what will put a roof over your head, and what is it that you're good at. For example, I like this healthcare thing. I'm quite good at it, but I think there are a lot of different things that I could also be good at. I like Instagram. I make that like a hobby. I don't necessarily try to make money off of Instagram. I like fashion. I make that as a hobby. I'm not saying that I have to be like the biggest fashion retailer. I'm not trying to be like Chanel or Gucci or anything like that, which is just to say that if there are multiple things you're interested in, some of those things that you can pursue as a hobby or you can pursue as a special interest, and you don't necessarily have to pursue it as like the primary way you make money or the primary thing that you're known for. I'm being very conscious of time, so I'm going to try to hit some of the other questions. The second interesting question was really how to make relationships that you're not necessarily expecting anything. So that's a very good question, and that's quite a difficult question for everybody. And I think that sometimes if you've done the work I talked about before and being clear of what it is that you want to do and what it is you don't want to do, I find that the universe tends to just it helps you attract the resources that you need. So first and foremost, what I tell everybody before worrying about networking, before a ton of different things, please, 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 please to God, be good at what it is. Know your stuff. Maybe you're not like the best. Maybe you're not at 100%. Maybe you're not like in the 99th percentile at what you do, but constantly be trying to improve your craft. I've seen too many people who try to use networking as their only means of advancing, but they get found out eventually. Maybe not in 1 month, maybe not in 1 year, but by the time you meet enough people, let's say you're meeting hundreds, if not thousands of people, and you're saying that you can say that you can deliver platinum level efforts at what it is that you do. But in truth, you've only prepared yourself to do maybe bronze, not even gold. You're selling platinum and diamond, but you can only actually deliver on bronze. It doesn't add up. So before worrying about like getting everybody to know you, please make sure that you're constantly working on your craft. You don't have to be perfect at it, but be constantly trying to improve yourself. Make sure that you're aggressively attempting to be better than you were yesterday, better than you were last year. That means investing in reading, investing in different trainings, just making sure that you're good, because the networking without actually being good, it really sets you up for long-term disaster. And I have seen it firsthand. So I'll give you a story about that. Well, maybe another time. We're short on time, or at least I'm short of time. Making relationships. So throughout
Chinny, please tell us the story. Tell us the story.
No, I'll come into details. I want to get to the questions, and then if we have time, I'll give you like the specific examples. Essentially, the short version of it is I had a business partner, a nonsense business partner. The person, he was intelligent in terms of, not even intelligent, clever in terms of structuring things in a way where you wouldn't really find out exactly what he was doing, or like having a whole bunch of paperwork where you wouldn't really be able to know like, okay, what is your shareholding in this or that, right? But the person, the individual, he didn't quite know the business itself. I knew the business like the back of my hand. And this person like loved being seen. Every event, every award, everything. He's one of those people who would die to be like on Forbes 30 under or 40 under, whatever the Forbes lists are, all of those things, you name it, he wants to do it, he has done it. He will pay you money to put him on the list. Me, for the most part, I really could not be bothered about those things. As long as I'm doing the work, I'm happy. Now, the problem came when this person became too greedy and he decided that, you know what? Why should Chinny be getting anything in the business when he's the one who's front and center, forgetting that he doesn't know how to run the actual business? Do you know what I mean? So I'm just looking at the whole thing. Okay, step away from the situation. But then within months, multiple lawsuits on his hands, multiple deaths, unnecessary deaths on his hands, a whole lot of problems simply because this individual wanted the limelight more than he wanted to do the work. You have to want to do the work. You have to know your stuff more than you want to be known for doing the work. Let me say that again so that you get me. Especially because we're in Africa, we're in this Nigeria. There will be a lot of people you see who, what they really want to do, they want to be known for what they're doing. They want the popularity, they want the publicity, they want to be, okay, everybody knows I'm a big boss, blah, blah, blah. They don't actually want to do the work, which means that the company will falter. You have to want to do the work more than you want to be known for doing the work. You have to want to do the work more than you want to be popular. That's just it. That's just it. And we see so many people rise and fall because they really want to be popular more than they want to actually make a difference or to do the work. So, I mean, I'll give you guys the nitty-gritty details another day, but just suffice to say, it's important for you to know this stuff. When networking, when making relationships, that's why it's so much easier when the work can speak for itself, but like the work is front and center. Do you get what I mean? When they can see you on the job, or they refer to you, or somebody who has worked with you before refers back to you, because it's so much stronger. That networking piece is so much stronger when you have something credible behind you. When Glory can say, oh, okay, I did a project with Stella, and Stella did an amazing job. She's really fantastic. I really think that Stella's a good person for blah, 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 because that will follow you for many, many years down the road. And even to this day, even again, 2020, a huge opportunity has opened up for me from somebody I knew in school back in 2004. So a person I knew in 2004 is now calling me today in 2020, asking me, okay, what are you up to? What's going on? Listen, I have this X hundreds of millions of dollars opportunity for us to go into a project together. What do you think? One, I knew about you on campus. Everybody always said good things about you. Two, I really trust you to be an honest and like very, forthcoming person. And I'll be very comfortable with only you on this project. That type of thing. Again, it takes years and years, but it's really about consistency. And I'll be honest, I'm not the best person at networking. I'm not. Like, I suck at it. I'm a very strong introvert. Please give me my book and a cup of tea and a corner on the couch, and I will take that any day over like going out and meeting people. I have to be forced to network to meet people, but it's part of the job, and it's part of like success and rising up in the ranks, because if people don't know about you and what you're doing, it's very difficult. So my real tactic for networking is, one, I look at the events, right? Because like I only have but so much energy. If you're an introvert, you only have but so much energy to expend on being around other people. So first and foremost, like, what events might make sense for me to go to? And if I'm going to those events, you better believe I'm not going to just be sitting in the corner like, okay, this was fun, talking to the person to the left and to the right of you. If you go to an event and you only talk to these two people, you have failed. For me, what's helpful is to have like an event agenda, right? I give myself a target. Chinny, you need to speak to 10 new people that you haven't spoken to before. You need to take 30 of your business cards and make sure that you're giving it out to all those people. You need to receive at least 40 business cards, or whatever like the numbers to be. I know I work well with numbers. If you don't work well with numbers, at least have an idea of what tactic works best for you. But for me, once I have a target, I know I need this target to hit this target, and I go after that target. But more important than going to an event and talking to people or meeting new people is the follow-up. I'm sure Gloria will tell you this. The follow-up is everything. because I'm sure everybody has had the experience. You go to different events, you do different things, and then you get home and nobody replies, like nobody sends out those follow-up emails to be like, oh, hey, Ifama, I met you at, the 9 to 5 chick event. It was really great to hear about your business that you're doing. I'd love for us to sit together and have a coffee. That type of thing makes a world of difference. So that's my own approach to like not working in mass. But within organizations, I wouldn't say that I network inside organizations. What would be my approach when you're within a company? More so, how would I describe what I do? I actually try my best to, one, be the best person doing the best work. But two, I try to put myself in situations where I'm going to have one-on-one time with either my boss or the person who is relatively at the head of the organization. And I know sometimes that's very difficult because, a lot of people are clamoring for that face time. But like I said before, first and foremost, the work is going to speak volumes in many ways, shapes, and forms. But then secondly, you have to be relatively aggressive about having face time with the correct people. I used to make the mistake of just sitting at my desk all day and just believing that people would know who had done all of this work, right? So if you're there crunching the numbers and doing the PowerPoints or whatever the work is happening, since you're so close to the work, you feel like everybody else, of course they have to know it's you. They may not know your name, and maybe even your boss is taking all of the credit for the work that is done. You have to be aggressive about being front and center. So let me tell you guys how this happened for me. I was working at a partner organization here in Nigeria. I was doing some consulting work for them. And the way this dude, the head of the organization at the time, he raised so much money. He raised so much money by using my name and another one of my colleagues' name and going to like all of these USAID, whoever, Bill and Melinda Gates foundations. He raised millions of dollars. Okay. But who was really doing the work? Before this guy would fly anywhere, he'd go off to Switzerland and he'd go off to the US and give presentations. Me, I was the person doing all of the presentations and handing them off to him at like 5, 6 a.m. before he had to catch his flights. Or if we had meetings in Nigeria, I was the one putting all of the stuff together, doing all the data, doing all this and that. And then he'd stand up and present it. And after he presented it, everybody would come up to him, oh, fantastic job. Oh, you did an amazing job. How did you even know about blah, blah, blah? That was the best this and that we ever saw. And over the years, I started being like, Chinny, as a true Igbo babe, you're just embarrassing me now. How is it that nobody knows that? How is it that nobody knows that it's you? So I was just like, I was just so baffled because there were literally the top people for healthcare in my field would see my work on a constant basis, but they wouldn't be able to attribute it to me. That stopped. After it happened enough times, I started standing up. At the end of presentations, I would stand up. Maybe he would still give the presentations, but I would stand up and I would walk around to almost everybody in the room and be like, oh, did you enjoy that? Yes, I put it together. Oh, I had the data from blah, blah, blah. Oh, yes. And I would give a much more detailed and sophisticated understanding of what they just saw so that they wouldn't even question who had actually put that thing together. Do you get what I mean? If you're quiet in the corner, nobody will know it's you. You have to stand up and start showing people that you are brilliant, that you're the one doing the work. So those are for people inside organizations. People who lead businesses, or if you have your own business, or if you're self-employed, networking is much more difficult, much more difficult, because the onus is on you to either get on LinkedIn or to look for events or whatever the case may be for how you find new people who are within the realm of like your industry or in your field. So it's really important for you to force yourself to get out there. That's why I said even things like having targets, right? For me, I realized like, okay, my business is going to go under if I don't start getting myself out there and meeting the right people. So I actually did a few things to increase my visibility. I started writing. People do not underestimate the power of writing, because anything you write, and even if you self-publish it online, like I publish a lot of stuff on my website, I publish a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, people will start seeing you and they'll start branding you around whatever it is you're writing. If you don't write, sometimes the thing will get lost. Like if you don't write, it's much difficult to have like that documented history of what it is that you're an expert in. And writing is difficult, right? It's very hard for people to put those thoughts and ideas down in a concise and lucid and interesting manner. So I really have to advocate for writing, because for me, writing made a huge difference once people really understand what it is you're doing, because you're now putting it on paper in a concise manner. They'll start reaching out to you. I've had numerous opportunities this year alone based off of the stuff that I wrote and I just put out there. Like, it doesn't have to be published in Forbes. It doesn't have to be published in Newsday or Business Day or whatever the case may be. You might even just put it on your websites and your LinkedIn, and you're going to get people coming back to you based off of what you know. I randomly published something and I sent it to like a WhatsApp group. I was like, hey guys, I wrote this thing on COVID, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody wrote back like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is the type of thing that we've been looking for to publish in Business Day. And they sent it to Business Day, and Business Day, they immediately published it without even telling me initially. So that's what I mean. Like, one, be an expert in your field, but also you have to be deliberate about how you showcase your expertise. There are a few things. For me, I was very good at PowerPoint, but I wasn't writing. And once I started writing, I was able to really brand myself as the expert on healthcare management in lower middle income countries. So a lot more people started coming to me for those sorts of things and those discussions. Oh dear, I'm already over. Let me pause now. I've been talking a lot. I hope my internet hasn't shamed me, but yeah, let me pause now and just take additional questions or anything that you might want more clarity on, what you want me to clarify. If you want to know the name of my lipstick, happy to talk about it all.
Thank you, Chinny. I mean, I think for me, the biggest takeaway for me was what you said is that you have to want to do the work more than you want to be popular. And I think that many times we can get so caught up in the hype, we forget to do the work, or we get so caught up in the work, we forget to advocate for ourselves. So having that balance is super important. So that for me was one of the biggest takeaways. If you can have 2 or 3 people either ask a question or give a comment on what they've learned, that would be great.
Ebere, I'm going to pick on you. I have to apologize to everybody. I come from the business school train of thoughts. If nobody's quiet, if everybody's quiet, you just start picking on people to talk. Ebere, how are you? What are your thoughts? What would you like clarity on? Is there anything I can provide you with support on?
Chinny, I've learned a lot. So for me, it's not about wanting the hype. It's more about what I can do to be better at what I do. Okay, so right now I feel like I'm not at my full potential in my career. So I'm looking for direction on how to be more expressive, you know, on what I do, and to learn more, basically.
So I think that's probably how a number of people feel, that you haven't reached your full potential, that you haven't reached the heights that you really believe and you know deep down you can reach. Because I have been there, I am still there. We are all in those shoes. How do I say this? It's really important to force yourself out of your comfort zone, because doing the same thing day in and day out, or I would say year in and year out, is the best way for you to just reach career stagnation. Even the fact that you're on this call, even the fact that you've signed up for all of the 9-to-5 chick stuff, it's a big deal, because it knows that you've recognized the fact that something something more can be done. And I think that maybe the next level, or like a parallel level to that, challenge yourself. Maybe start writing. I'm really big on writing, because like I really know that it's kind of like a secret way of getting a lot of visibility. Start writing. If you don't post things on LinkedIn, maybe start posting things on LinkedIn. If you're not friending new people on LinkedIn, friend new people. You can friend me. I promise you, like, I'll accept it once I see it, because I don't go on all the time. But just start little ways of challenging yourself to force yourself out of your comfort zone, because it's when you start getting too comfortable honestly, I'm 35 this year. At my age, the years start to go by like that. Like, I remember when my mom was 35, and I feel like she did a lot more than I am currently doing. Do you know what I mean? So start doing things that you might find to be difficult and maybe are not natural to you, but you know for a fact will lead to I would say more success down the line. And let me give you a concrete example. Some people don't like to send LinkedIn messages or DMs because they feel like it can easily get ignored, and it can easily get ignored. But what's literally the worst that can happen is whoever it is you wanted to connect with ignores you. Or sending emails, like cold call emails, right? So the worst that can happen is they don't respond to you. But for every, 10 that you send out, let's say you get 2 or 3 people who actually respond to you and just are open to having a conversation, especially now that everybody's stuck at home. Not stuck at home, but everybody is using these sorts of platforms to have conversations. So people who maybe 10 months ago in 2020, in 2019, I wouldn't have had time to talk to. Now that I'm on Zoom and on Microsoft Teams all the time, I set up meetings. I literally set up meetings with almost everybody who reaches out to me, and I'm like, hey, okay, let's at least talk for 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So capitalize on that. Start sending out messages on LinkedIn. Start sending out emails. I even if I know the person's first name and last name, I might do a search of their organization just to find what the end of the email address is like. Like it might be, you might know that her name is Gloria Dozie and Rice, but you're like, what's the email address that I can reach her? So I'm like, okay, I know that she works for 9 to 5 Chick, or I know that she works for this. So maybe the email address might be this, and I send it. If it bounces back, then I'm like, okay, it's wrong. Let me try a different version. Like, just, when I say you have to be hungry, Ebera, you have to be hungry to connect.
That's
You have to be hungry for it.
hilarious.
It's true. I do it. I'm not even ashamed to say I do it. I do it. So I just did it maybe 3 days ago was the last time I did it. There was this dude who works at a PE firm that I want to get in touch with. And I was like, how do I figure out his email? I know his first name, last name, and I know the company he works in. I tried to Google different potential variations, and whichever one comes up, fine, I'm going to send it. So yeah, just do, please, Ebera, I'm going to force Glory to follow up with you. Start out of your comfort zone. Step out of it.
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm happy. Everybody, I really apologize.
Fantastic. I think we have time for one more question.
Yes, please.
I have a question.
So, Chinny, do we have time for one more question?
Yes, please.
Are you okay?
Joke.
All right, okay.
Joke has a question. I believe it was Joke. Hi,
Yes.
how are you?
Very well, thank you. And thank you so much for that. I wouldn't call it a speech, it was more of a conversation. And the big takeaway for me was that you don't have to be what you're not to network. So introverts don't have to become the loud, chatty type just to connect with people. You can still be who you are and reach out to connect with others. So thank you for that. So my question is, over the course of your career, how would you say the certifications you got sort of improved your leverage, if I can put it that way? So would you say that it is absolutely important to get masters, or maybe not masters, now certifications for someone that is looking to get ahead in their career? What is the place of that, and what's your thoughts about that?
So I think it's industry dependent. I feel that my degrees were very helpful because they were quite narrow, like they were quite targeted, so that everybody who I worked with or who I was in school with, or in my cohort in my classroom, was focused almost on the same thing. So for undergrad, we all did human biology together. So a lot of them are now medical doctors. Some of them have gone into other aspects of healthcare. In my master's, we were all doing hospital management, healthcare administration. So and then in my PhD, we were both doing, because there are only 2 of us, we were both doing healthcare management. So I would say to the extent that it helps it helped with the networking aspect, because it wasn't too hard to find. I mean, now, right, later in my career, it's not too hard to find people who I might need support on certain things, at least in the US. So let's say I'm back in the US and I need some healthcare hospital information on X, Y, and Z. I get in touch with somebody who was in my master's program and who was in the PhD program. And even while I was in the PhD program, since it was a business school, I was exposed to a lot of people who were doing many different businesses. So my network widened, right? The types of people I was exposed to widened. And also, you know, I mentioned before, I'm an introvert. It wasn't natural for me to, it's to this day, it's still not natural for me to reach out to other people. So having gone to school and being in school was extremely helpful for me because it forced me to interact with other people who were already doing the similar things. Now, did school itself teach me everything I needed to know for the work I'm doing today? Absolutely not. It didn't even teach me most of it. It didn't even teach me 1/4, maybe even 10% of what I need to know. The things that are relevant for work, I feel you learn on the job. And the things that are relevant for different companies, different organizations, different types of work, you learn on the job. Degrees, certificates, degrees are what you make of them. I know somebody, well, a young girl who I mentor right now, she hasn't finished school. Like she hasn't finished undergrad. I think she's like now 24, 25. But she is, when I say an adept, an intelligent, a very good businesswoman, she's a very good businesswoman because she knows how to connect with people. I met her about 2 or 3 years ago, and she didn't come up to me in the first introduction or like in the first time we met. It may have been the second or third time, and she just, oh, hey, what do you think about this? And then she asked for support because, you know, she's, how do I explain it? She's very good at reading people, and she's been able to create her business around the relationships that she develops with people in different settings. So long story short, my answer is really, you make of degrees what you make of them. Like degrees can be very helpful in terms of getting you to know people who have similar interests and are in the same industry. And if you're in a very, very technical industry, it's quite helpful. And of course, there's some people who are like degree snobs, right? Some people are like, oh, I will only hire somebody who has gone to blah, blah, blah school and finished with like a first class. There are some companies like that. But for me, the way I hire people and the way I know a lot of employers hire people, okay, I've seen rubbish people who graduated summa cum laude from Harvard, and I've seen fantastic people who don't have a degree. It's about the individual. It's about the individual's not aggressive. It's about how hungry they are to do the work and how they're able to show you their value. So it depends. I know that's a bad answer. I don't like it when people say it depends, but it really depends on your field. So something like engineering, right? Of course, you need to know the basics of engineering if you want to get a degree in engineering, right? But let's say you even get a degree in engineering and then you go off and you start working for like a social media company. I've also seen people who do that. If you're working for a social media company, you better be more adept at like being social, at being like innovative and creative. It's the softer skills that really matter as opposed to the degree itself. It's how well do you work in teams. I know a guy who graduated with first class something. He went and he did his MBA in the UK somewhere, came back to Nigeria. I actually hired him as part of my team for something. When I say it was a very bad hire, I didn't even know that the guy was a bad hire before because he was able to fake the funk a little bit. But after a while, I was just like, he's technically savvy, right? He's technically savvy, but the way he relates with other people, oh my God. Like the guy, his ego is like, it's like you give him this much power and suddenly he thinks he's the king of Scotland. I don't even know. So those sorts of people, they're not good for teams because other people on his teams don't respond well because of his behavior. And I would gladly trade him out for somebody who maybe doesn't know the technical part as well, but is much better relating with people and interpersonal relationships. So yes, it depends.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chinny.
Thank you so much, everybody. And when I said, like, honestly, friend me on LinkedIn. I don't go on all the time, but when I do, I probably like add 200 people all the time. So I just go down the list. Yes. So for those who are shy, Ebera, I'm looking at you. For those who are shy, for those who need to hit their targets, for those who need to start networking, please feel free, send me a message, talk to me on Instagram. I'm also not on there. I'm trying to like creep back on Instagram. I've been quiet for like 2 months, which is bad, but I am a very reachable. That's not the right word. I'm a very, Gloria, what's the right
You're
word?
accessible.
Accessible. Aha, you see, this is why she went to school. I'm an accessible person. So it's been really, really nice to speak with you guys. And yeah, I'll see you all on the app. I hope you've downloaded. I hope you've gotten onto the app platform.
Yes, everybody. Yes. Everybody here is on the app. So fantastic.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chinny. As usual, it is always amazing to have you on. Thank you so much.